Hi, welcome to Totally Rewarding Chats, another episode. We have Paul. Paul, you're actually on the other side of my screen. It's a little weird. Normally you're on the other side. You're
You
on
can
the.
move it. You can move me. There, you
I
have the
could no, no.
tools.
I guess I won't. And again, probably the best thing you could think you wrote on your whiteboard today. Is that your most creative thought? Which is nothing for those listening. Yeah.
Morning recordings. I'm just not
Yeah.
as creative yet.
That's true. And we are stoked to have one of the OGs of comp. We have Mr. Mark Szypko. How are you?
Doing outstanding, Sean, but I'm not exactly sure what exactly is an OG.
Um, okay, well, we'll let you go to Chat GPT, which means we probably broke the record. I think an episode ago we went 40 minutes. This time we're not going to make it 1 minute before we mention something AI. That's because you're cool, new, and inventive, Mark. You're on the cutting edge.
Okay. That's what
I
OG
just
means. Good.
Synonyms for OG are pioneer, leader, veteran, originator, classic, old school. Right? Like there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah. Old. I got it. I got it.
Just keep reading them, Paul. Even better.
I was trying to not pick the ones that were clearly like, okay, we're just saying like old here at this point. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, okay.
So
Ancient.
speaking of that, without
Legend.
taking hours,
Legend is the
Mark.
word we should
Yeah,
focus
curmudgeon.
on.
Yeah.
Legend.
Legend.
Legend. Oh, I thought you said curmudgeon. I thought I was going to go with curmudgeon.
Yeah,
Um,
my kids would go with the curmudgeon.
Yeah.
Legend, not so much.
so without taking hours, Mark, can you go over your history kind of, and then you have a unique thing going on now. But what do you have going on now, and all the way back, so people can talk about your OG-ness?
Yeah. Wow. I started my career like everybody else. Of course, I grew up wanting to be a comp person. That, of course, was not the case. I fell into compensation in 1981. I was 4 years old at the time, but started my career in '81 working for Honeywell, and for the last 44 years or so, I've been in the comp space.
What was your
Um,
actually? Because this comes up all the time, Mark. What was your original day job?
my original day job was a comp analyst working for Honeywell.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, but that's not what you wanted to be when you grew up.
No. Originally, I wanted to be an accountant because I went to college. I was 3 semesters as an accounting major. I says, "Get me the hell out of here." And then my mom said, "Mark, you're good with people. You should be in personnel." So I joined a fraternity, a business fraternity, and ended up meeting an alum who is a director of HR systems and HR technology and compensation and benefits. So I kind of latched onto him for the night, and long story short, I got hired as a
Okay.
comp analyst, having not a flipping clue what a comp analyst was. And his advice to me was to spend a couple of years in comp, develop that expertise, and then kind of move around. Well, here I am, 40 odd years later, and I'm either pretty stupid. Or there's a lot more to learn than many of us might like to believe. So yeah, no, I started back then as a comp analyst, and just over the years, I just kind of evolved in my career, up to the point where, heading up, having Dave's job, the guy who hired me as head of comp benefits and HR tech, which at the time was HR systems and operations, I guess they called it, but in any event.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my, at least I started then, again, like I said, stayed primarily in the tech sector. One of the things that I realized very early on in my career that was important was networking, because back in the day, you used to call people and ask them how much they paid people. So you needed to know who was who. So kind of along that line, back in '99, as time had moved on and I'd kind of grown in my career a little bit, I saw a need to really expand the ability to do some networking and also knowledge sharing. So I founded the New England Compensation Consortium back in '99. It's still alive and kicking today. We've got about 300 members. We're an affiliate of World at Work, a diamond affiliate at least of World at Work, and yeah, it's still going. I just recently stepped down as president of the NECC. And am currently, spending doing a little bit of work, or spending a little bit of time with World at Work on their affiliate advisory council. But with World at Work, for me, trying to learn the whole comp space. Of course, I did the whole certification thing. I became a CCP and a GRP. I've also been on faculty with World at Work for about 30 years now. Teaching fun things like the regulatory environment, talking about the Fair Labor Standards Act for 2 days. It just couldn't get much better. But yeah, I've been doing that, but have over the years, picked up a number of the other courses as well, the market pricing, the, variable compensation, the CIP, which is an immersion program. So doing a lot of that stuff with World at Work. Somewhere along the line, I got a Lifetime Achievement Award from World at Work, which basically means maybe they want me to go away, but here I am, I'm still here. But again, very much a fan of World at Work. I think they're a great organization. And one thing I do want to say, heading up founding and heading up for a bit a local affiliate, I would strongly suggest to your folks out there that have unfortunately haven't listened to me for a little bit, I would strongly suggest, getting involved with your local affiliate. It's a great opportunity. It really is. World at Work can only do so much. But I think a lot of the local affiliates, can really bring it a lot closer to home. It helps you build your local network, your local support systems, but also knowledge transfer. They're bringing, a lot of them bring courses in. I know NECC, we brought courses in. We bring a lot of good speakers in to share knowledge. And we also
and Sean.
And Sean.
Well, yeah, and then Sean. So yeah. But that kind of went without saying. But then another thing that we do a lot is have a lot of our members are presenting to the group, sharing their knowledge, because we got a lot of smart people out there doing a lot of good stuff. So let's do that. Let's share that. So I guess in a nutshell, that's kind of my career. I've been doing comp like for forever, and World at Work I think has been a big part of it for me.
There's a handful of people that, when you walk around a World at Work conference, that like everybody knows, right? And all roads lead to zip code to some extent. So even over the course of your time, you've even had the either pleasure or the pain of being in the same place, I think, as both Sean and I, in different ways.
At
multiple stops.
I will absolutely agree. I'm not going to tell you whether it was pleasure or pain, but I've had the pleasure. Yeah.
So actually, I know in your question, Paul, in your quiz thing that you do a lot, what year was the FLSA standing back? What year was it, Mark?
1938.
Okay. Yeah. That would have been great before the stupid quiz in Chicago.
All right. I got a question for you then, Sean.
Now you're on the spot, Sean.
The Equal Pay Act was enacted in 1963. When was it originally drafted? The Equal Pay Act.
I didn't know the 1938 mark, so to be fair.
I seem to recall that there was
By the way, I was not
lengthy
alive in
process.
1938, just in case you wondered.
Yeah.
I'm not a history guy at all, but I seem to remember there was a lengthy, not remember because I was alive, but there was a lengthy process from drafting to passage. I just don't remember the duration.
Yeah, there normally is. I mean, they don't pass anything very quickly. Well, it was enacted in 1963. It was originally drafted in 1946.
That is a lengthy process.
It is a long
Think about what was going on.
4 administrations. Yeah.
Well, World War II was going on. Remember the old moniker or the meme, Rosie the Riveter?
Absolutely.
Rosie was working in the shipyards and said, this isn't right. We've got women doing the same work as men. We should be paying them the same. 46, the war ended. The boys came home. The women went home. We don't need that anymore, they thought. So they shelved it. It was sitting in the shelves until 63 when it was finally enacted.
Wow. Trivia today. Look at that.
Yeah. So we get to speed round here to learn more about you, Mark. Are you a coffee or tea person?
Oh, coffee. Black. Hot.
Oh, okay. Wow. There's no doubt in there.
No.
Favorite golf course you've played?
Wait a minute. By the way, speaking of coffee, black, hot, Dunkin' Donuts, not Starbucks. I don't like my coffee burnt. Okay.
We will not do that as an outtake for Starbucks.
That's right.
I once well, never mind. I'll tell you later.
Favorite golf course?
Favorite golf course. There's a course in Stowe, Massachusetts, Wedgwood. Love it. Beautiful course. My wife is the golfer. I'm not. So I'm a hacker. I get out maybe half a dozen times a year. She was a member there for a few years. She's recently changed to another club. And I just love that course. Beautiful. Out in the middle of Snowmass, rolling hills, beautiful course.
Okay. Compa ratio or range penetration is the term.
No question. Range penetration. Compa ratio doesn't mean anything. If I tell you my compa ratio is 0.8 and Paul's is 0.8, what that tells you is we're paid below the midpoint of the range. Number one. That's all it tells you. You could be below the minimum, Paul, and I could be well into the first quartile. So I'm a big position and range person for that reason, but also because I'm not a fan of midpoint as a point. Because, we say, well, I need to be paid the midpoint. And people think that we have scientifically come up with this midpoint that is the absolute market rate for a job. And if I'm not paid at least that, then I'm going to be torqued. If we're looking at position and range, then, I like look at it as like a gas gauge, you know where you are, right? So, in any event, so.
That was a very binary yes or no question. You did well. I like that you're passionate about it, though, because I am on that one as well.
Well, I was so quick with my coffee, I figured I could spend a little more time on that one.
That's true. You have a weekend away, and I know the answer to this, so I hate to ask it, but you have a weekend away. Would you rather spend it at a posh resort somewhere or out camping in the woods?
Well, I would probably be taking my wife with me, so it would have to be a posh resort.
Okay.
Her idea of roughing it is a Holiday Inn. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Well,
That's
one step above. Paul is roughing it's a Marriott.
A low brand Marriott, to be clear.
You guys would be in the same campground.
We're probably going to have to cut that out too, then, I suppose.
No. So we did have. I'm in the minority, but at least I'm not alone in the roughing it category. Two more. Favorite person you've been on a global compensation roadshow with?
Don't fall for it.
Don't fall for it. You, Sean. I think I went on one with you, didn't I? Yeah.
I was waiting for you to say Atar. So I will comment on Mark because he won't talk about himself here. One of the things, so I am obviously, for those who know, out in the market a lot now. One of the first tours I ever did was with Atar, Siddiqui, and Mark, and we were at salary.com, and they basically said, here's two industry experts who are really good at presenting. Go out, and by the way, we need a nerd to go with them who has no experience. Oh, that's Sean. Perfect. And I learned.
Still wondering who the two experts are, by the way. But go ahead.
Well, I learned, Mark, a lot because that was still transitioning from trying to, many people insert jokes here, be professional when I presented and not be myself, and I learned a tremendous amount from you two on that roadshow. I don't know how much value it had at the time to salary.com sending me around the world to different places, but actually getting to watch you guys and really, to be honest, add color commentary on the dev side, which wasn't a lot of it, allowed me to kind of be and watch and learn. And now, so partially you're responsible for good or bad for me being in the market and who I am. I learned a tremendous amount. So there was a reason I asked the question. I actually was thinking you were going to answer knowing you, Atar, or like 10 other people than me. But I really appreciate it. So I wanted to get that out there, that I learned a tremendous amount about how great you are with groups and crowds and what have you.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate that. I think one of the things about from my perspective anyway, that maybe separated me from some is the ability to get out there and speak, because, a lot of compensation people are not normally the most effusive people on the planet. So, and that's one thing that I think is important as a comp person, is to be able to develop and establish those relationships. Certainly when you're out making presentations, but also in the business as well. So I think it served me well. My wife says, I can't believe you. Mark never met a microphone he didn't like, and can't believe they paid to do this, but they did, and it put 4 kids through college, so leave me alone, right? sign
It changed. I did not like getting out. It's not my thing as an introvert. So the ability to be yourself and link up with people and not have to be the, consultant with the, I won't say tie, Paul, or bow tie, but, to have the consulting uniform on and get out was really kind of influential. That's why you get a lifetime award. The last question, hopefully, won't be as controversial. Crunchy or creamy peanut butter?
Creamy.
Yeah.
Creamy. Skippy, by the way.
Oh, a specific brand.
Specific shout out to Skippy.
Don't put the Peter Pan into the GIF in Mark's pantry. Bad news.
No.
So, now that we got through the speed round, that took longer. I guess I just wanted to open it with you've seen a few things over time. For me, it was kind of interesting with the sheer number of people you've spoken to at NECC, the places you've worked, the vendors you've worked at, everything else. What are the couple things that you just see traditionally make a successful comp program out there that just seem to be tried and true?
I'd say probably three things. One is engagement, the other would be transparency, and then the third would be communication. Let me break that down a little bit. When I say engagement, I mean, working with the folks that you're developing the program for. If you're developing a sales program, working with sales management, working with the salespeople, getting them involved in the entire process, engaging them in the process, such that when you're rolling the program out, you've built in ambassadors into the program. Candidly, when we get up there and we're talking about a program, a lot of times, who are we? We're HR. And unfortunately, we don't necessarily carry the weight that we would like to carry, I think. And please don't talk about weight. But, so it's good to be able to have a line manager. It's good to be able to have a person. I remember years ago developing a skill-based pay plan in a manufacturing plant. I actually spent time on the floor in each manufacturing cell, working with process engineers, working with manufacturing management, spending time with the assemblers. That helps a lot, getting the folks engaged that are going to be impacted. It makes the communication that much easier. Transparency is important as well. Don't develop the greatest mousetrap and hold it close to your vest. I've got a buddy of mine who used to think that what we did in compensation was sit around in our offices with our sweaty palms thinking of ways to suppress the masses. They're going to come up with the worst ideas or the most devious intent, more devious intent than we would ever consider implementing, let alone developing, right? So be transparent about the plans, be transparent about the programs. Salary ranges, people should know what their range is. People should know the range for every job in their job family, for crying out loud. So transparency, I think, is important. And then the last thing is communication. It's like the three most important things in real estate. What are they? Location, location, location. I would say with compensation, it's communication, communication, communication. We've heard the old adage, the best plan communicated poorly will be less successful than a poor plan communicated well. So we need to make sure that we're communicating our plans and communicating well. And when we're communicating, by the way, making sure that we're recognizing, especially that we have multiple generations out there and different folks are going to absorb the information in different ways, right? My folks, God rest their soul, when my son is a podcast producer, when he started this job as a podcast producer, my folks said, what is a podcast? They didn't even have so I tried to explain to them, well, it's like a 60 minutes episode that you can listen to on the radio whenever you want to. Oh, okay. So, we're going to have some folks that are going to want, a paper memo, right? You're going to have folks that are going to want, plans and programs, I don't know, tweeted to them or Instagram to them or wherever. So you got to go where they are. Don't think, you're going to just draft a 13-page memo and you're done. It's about, multiple mediums to get the message across.
Well, first of all, I think that might be the last Twitter reference we get on here, because that's been gone.
Oh, did I say Twitter? I'm sorry, X.
Yeah. You're up to speed. Yeah, well, you were. I think the most interesting thing about that, Mark, is after all those years, none of that had to do with data sources, the calculation, the math. Like none of it had to do with the actual mechanics of the comp process.
I
That
was
to me was the most influential part of that whole discussion of what
I,
you just said.
I was going to react the same way. I think it's the classic sort of what got you here is what's going to get you to the next spot, right? Like most comp people get picked from finance because let's be honest, that's usually how it happens, and get their first promotion based on technical skill, right? It's the you can handle the data, you're good with the spreadsheet. But I didn't hear you say that's what I mean, it might matter at first. And I think it's an assumption you've got to have some technical capability,
Yeah.
but that's not what gets you there, right? That's not really what makes or breaks things at the end of the day.
No, it's not what makes a program successful. I mean, now you have the tools to help you do that. I mean, and Sean, you've heard me say this, but I believe compensation is a science fiction, right? Certainly, there is the science, the data, the numbers that you were just talking about.
I didn't see that one coming.
But wait, there's more. But but then the fiction is, what do you do with that data? How do you work with that data? How do it's about, it's about the gray matter, utilizing that gray matter, to develop the plans, to develop the programs, to build the relationships, to communicate the programs. So yeah. I look at the tech, the attention to detail, the affinity with numbers. I look at that as a given. You wouldn't be a rewards person if you didn't have that.
That's true, but I think, to be fair, I think that people spend an inordinate amount of time on that piece when they spend that science piece. There's an inordinate amount of detail of 'cause I usually say the number that you come up with for the midpoint of that range is the number nobody makes, right? That's the number never offered. And so I think they spend a lot of time, is that number $65,253 or $257, and I need to get that right. Instead of spending that time communicating. And I think, Mark, it's become more prevalent now, more important, the communication piece, than it was in the past, because you've got transparency and equity and everything. And so there's more information out there, right? They're going to go, what used to be the old salary wizard back in the day was one of the first tools to arm employees. Like, you can go on any tool now and find it. And so communicating that out on the why and why our data is right and the math is really important.
Yeah, I think the challenge for comp people is to make sure that you're getting out of your office. I took a job at a company as the head of total rewards, and I remember having a conversation with the chief technology officer, and he said, "Oh, am I glad we finally have a comp person." I said, "Well, what about this other guy who was just here?" And he said, "Never met him. He had been there for 2 years, and he had never met the top engineering executive in a software company." Now, that to me is unconscionable. Right. So, you got to get out there, get out of your office, know the business.
Yeah.
Do you think that's changed the persona? Because I think, you think back to Paul's point, jokingly, have we had anyone that wanted to be in comp? They all kind of end up there, but they come traditionally from finance, accounting, whatever, and end up here. All places where, and as one, you want to sit in the corner and not go meet people, which is ironic. But have you seen that shift to where they have to be more communications focused?
Well, let's recognize that there are different levels of work in the discipline, right? So, I think if you're going to move, then you need to have the relationships, the relationship skills. I think you need to be able to, establish those relationships with leadership, with the employees, et cetera. Otherwise, you can be relegated to the back office and crunching the numbers, for lack of a better term.
Well, and I think, Sean, I think the episodes might not sequence this way. We just had a conversation we were talking about the partnership with other functions, and the big wish was I need my comp people to know us better, in both the humans and the business. So I think while there are different levels of work, I don't think a comp person can segment themselves anymore and sort of wait for the manager to know the business, right? The tools, the tech, say it AI, right, are going to make the number part easier. That's not how you're going to be successful as a comp person, is being good with the data. The robot will do that. You've got to be the intelligence on top of the robot. And everybody's going to have to get out, right? That first job, that P1 comp job, is no longer a back office job. I think that's the reality of what's to come.
Well, to kind of follow it that, if I could magically change HR, what would I do? Or at least from a total rewards perspective, spot on. Get to know the business. Get to know the business. And once you know the business, you're then going to acquire the respect from the business, and then together, the two you can then drive that business. So we're not looked upon as the cops, but we're looked at as literally. I mean, I know the term HR business partner is overused, but if you know the business, you understand the business, they know you know it, you work together, you drive the success, then you are genuinely looked at as a partner in the business, not as an overhead function that I have to put up with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I know we normally end with that question, so I'm not either going to let you end with that, or is that your subtle hint that you just want to be done with all of that?
Have a good day. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, like that was great. I did want to focus because it's interesting going back to, Honeywell and all the way forward. Summarize how you've seen technology change the comp function over time, but also, which is interesting because, you get this long run. And then, of course, kind of if you intertwine in there what hasn't changed, would be interesting too, because I think some things never change. But yeah, I'm really curious to get your perspective of how tech has changed.
Well, when I started, there wasn't any. So it's changed quite a bit.
Was
literally,
there fire? Did you have fire?
Literally. No, literally. What's that?
Did you have fire? Was there fire to keep you warm while you were working? Yeah.
Yeah, a little while. Yeah, for a little while. Yeah. And running water, Sean. It's unbelievable. No, literally, my first job, I was killing trees. I was using an adding machine and a pencil on paper, things that none of us even know about. We didn't have things like spreadsheet software. We didn't have presentation software. We had nothing. It was paper. It was pencil, adding machine. So then as technology evolved, then we ended up getting things like presentation graphics. And of course, we then had to print off our graphs on acetates that we would then put on a projector.
That was an art, actually, getting it right side up and everything for everybody without the spin around. That there's a lost art in the overhead machine working.
Yeah. And I lost that art. But so no, I mean, I remember literally pulling all-nighters using an application called the Harvard Graphics, trying to develop charts for a compensation presentation. So in any event, so so certainly that has changed. But then also something that we didn't have back in the day were a lot of the solutions that we have today as well. I mean, if you're going to be creating a market composite, what are you doing? You're doing it on paper. You would have a form, right, that you would fill out, and you'd go to your adding machine and you would do all the calculations and tabulations. And if you made a mistake, you had to use whiteout, all that kind of fun stuff, right? So creating composites that way. As far as salary surveys, pulling them together, it was a pain. It was a royal pain in the neck. Yeah. But in any event, so fortunately, things like salary.com came out and market pay and whatnot to help us aggregate all of that survey data to make the process of creating composites and market pricing, that much simpler. And that software, certainly it continues to evolve, to the point now where we have all sorts of comp solutions out there, or HR solutions out there. And I certainly don't have to tell Paul, the godfather of comp tech.
Godfather. Wow, I like that.
Yeah. Well, you're the grandfather. I'm the grandfather. You're the godfather. Okay, don't let it go to your head. It doesn't really mean anything. It just means you're older than most. So there's all sorts of comp tech that's out there. So while things like, while solutions continue to evolve, I also think that what we're seeing right now is a lot of innovation. Mm-hmm. So while a lot of the technology initially came out solved the problems of the aggregation and of the to assist in market pricing and program development and whatnot, I think what we're seeing now is a lot of solutions are evolving to assist in things like the pay equity and things such as that. So helping us do a lot more of the analysis for us.
Sure.
Which I think then frees us up more to help drive success in the business. So lots of changes. I mean, no, I wasn't using a chisel on stone back then, but heck, looking back on it now, it certainly feels a lot like it.
You
An
went from
adding machine in whiteout's pretty close though. Like I can't wait to
Yeah.
actually.
5.25 inch to 3.5 inch. What's interesting in all of that, Mark, is your what would you do automatically piece of getting to know the business. This ability to have the tech. What I've kind of talked about with some comp people is you now have the ability to do more creative things, because in the past you were very limited to how much could I fit on the form, what could the adding machine take, what could I do in Lotus Notes, which then was Excel. And so those skills or those tools dictated how creative I could be with my pay philosophy, which meant like, hey, should I align with more different parts of the business? Maybe, but I can't. Now I think that piece you talked about, Mark, about getting out there and understanding the business and drivers, the tech allows them to really segment the business and help align to the business more. And probably more than ever, that whole advice that you're giving about getting out and learn the business can be super cool with the pay philosophy. So it's kind of interesting how over all the years that you've seen, that advice now becomes probably more important than ever.
Well, and I want to follow. I want to follow that thread a little bit too, because this is something my team and I have been focused a lot on. Are those sort of dogmatic practices that are rooted in the way we used to have to do it? And I guess Mark, think through if you've got one top of mind, because you've been teaching sort of the comp space for a long time too. Like, let's be honest, there are a number of practices that 10 years ago we were still talking about, like we were talking about them 30 years ago, that we've finally started, I think, modernize and say, no, you can do this differently now because. Are there things that you still see that you're like, wow, that's dated? Or like that we can modernize this because you've seen how we've been able to change. What's that next change look like? What are those things that you think we need to be doing differently?
Well, I think it's adoption. I teach a lot of these courses with World at Work, and I'm still surprised to find, that many folks out there are still using things like, spreadsheet software to drive and run their programs. Spreadsheet software in lieu of an HR system. So I think it's recognizing that, that there are solutions out there and adopting them, helping convince the business that these are important. Yeah, there's an investment that you have to make in them. Yeah, it's money, but what's it going to do? It's going to help us, drive better success in the business at the end of the day. So I don't know. It's convincing folks that, oh, well, it's important. It's important to, invest in this technology. Well, why do we invest in technology? You're just an overhead function. Well, yeah, you know what? You want to look at us as an overhead function. You can do that. And as long, it'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy if that's what you want. But if we have the tools that we need to address a lot of these backroom issues, we can then certainly partner better and then drive more success in the business.
But that just reiterates your point of knowing the business. That, to me, just reiterates the point of knowing the business, because if you just replicate a spreadsheet into a tool, then you're still in the back office. You're just using a different tool. But if you can go and understand the business and say, we can now align to the business more in these ways and drive these things, that's how you end up with a new tool and you end up being more strategic. And so, I mean, it's such great advice that, again, it's kind of like the three things you mentioned earlier, and the fourth thing is what you change. None of them have to do with, the maths that are involved with the process.
Yeah. The other thing about teaching these courses too, Paul, that's a little interesting to me is I was actually teaching a course about a month ago, and on my phone, I had my phone while I was co-teaching, up popped the news that Paul Newman died. And I said, oh, wow, Paul Newman died, to a person. They all said, who's Paul Newman?
Yeah.
So,
he's a salad. So when I told my kids that, they were like, oh, the salad dressing.
Salad dressing.
yeah.
I'm like, I failed.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, we're gonna have to buy Wishbone now.
This has been great. I really appreciate it, Mark. For those that are out there, Mark is easy to find if you can spell Szypko, which is why between Atar Siddiqui, Mark Szypko, and Sean Luchins, it was quite the spelling that had to happen on that. Yeah.
Well, especially in Singapore. As I said to folks over the years, I've spent half my life spelling it, the other half pronouncing it. And my wife's maiden name was Kane, and I think to this very day she regrets ever taking the last name.
Yeah.
As I hear her say, that's S as in Sam, Z as in zebra.
Yeah.
So,
well, we appreciate it. People can find Mark on LinkedIn. He's happy to chat comp all the time, unless he's out playing golf now. For those of us, follow us. Take a follow on your favorite streaming platform. Find us, or if you want to, watch Mark, you can follow us on YouTube as well, and you can see it. Thanks again, man. I really appreciate it. It was great to see you.
Sean, Paul, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yes, thanks, Mark.
Great being with you.